Welcome to AskPsychSessions, where we ask some of the best teachers in psychology questions from you, our audience. If you would like to send in a question or an idea for a conversation, please visit bit.ly/AskPsychSessions. That's bit.ly/AskPsychSessions, all lowercase, no spaces. And here's our next question. This is Garth. It is Ask Psych Sessions with Brooke Whisenhunt, and I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay. Have you ever been assigned, I'm asking for a friend, have you ever been given a course just a couple weeks before you needed to teach it? Again, asking for a friend. This did not happen to me this quarter.
The only thing this happened to me was actually when I was a brand new faculty member. So I didn't know what my courses were going to be. And so I showed up, and that was back in the day where you didn't even know what you're supposed to do about a book. You didn't even know that you could get free books. So I'm actually thinking I got to go buy some books and figure out what I'm going to do. So that happened to me when I basically showed up on campus the first time, and I had to teach a graduate class in intelligence testing, which I would not say I was an expert on. So that was my experience.
Well, do you remember what you ended up doing, or who helped you with this?
So looking back on that, I overcompensated greatly and made it probably the hardest class I've ever taught in my entire life. So that I would recommend against that for people starting out. I think it was that sort of imposter phenomenon. They're going to figure out I don't know anything, and so I need to raise the bar really high. And I taught that class probably 8 times after that, and that was the hardest time I ever taught that class. I required more than I should have. I expected more than I should have. And so that was just a learning lesson for me as a teacher. I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah, I have some of the same story in my background, and I feel so bad for those students who, don't you?
Absolutely. And actually, one of those students to this day, I still remember, who got super mad at me. She was coming in from the community. She wasn't even in our graduate program, probably had kids and was overwhelmed. And it's the only time this has ever happened to me. Literally took her midterm exam and threw it at me and stomped out the door. So that was the way I started out my teaching career.
You've come a really long way.
It was a very ominous beginning.
Noland, do you have this experience? I'm here with Noland White as well. Do you have the experience? Now, you've been at this for a while, so when's the last time you did a new prep?
3 years ago.
Okay. Was it ever unexpected, or was it always expected?
That class was a surprise. Unfortunately, it was due to, it wasn't a huge surprise. We had a colleague that passed away, and I had discussed with the chair that I would be the next person possibly to teach the course. So it wasn't a huge surprise. The timing was a surprise.
And what course was it?
A counseling and clinical psychology upper level seminar.
What was your strategy?
Basically to replicate a lot of what I did in my counseling program. And fortunately, it's working out pretty well. I've got students that are going off into their grad programs, and they're reporting that they're having experiences very similar to what we had in that class, and they feel much better prepared than a lot of their colleagues.
So you could rely on some of your expertise. Did you talk to anybody else? Was there any strategy involved, or had you been teaching long enough that?
I talked to my department chair, who's also a counseling psychologist, and talked to other colleagues in clinical psych. And we talked about, what is it that a student that's going either into the workforce, that's going to be in a service providing capacity, or if they're going into grad school for counseling, clinical, one of the applied positions, what do they need to know? What are the experiences they need to have their junior or senior year that will help them make those decisions? And so I relied a lot on talking to other people and making sure that was kind of built into the course.
Yep. Landrum, you've joined the circle. Okay. Here's the question.
Yeah.
What should a faculty member, probably an inexperienced faculty member, do when they are just assigned a course and they've never taught it before? What advice would you give? Do you get to put your department chair hat on right now?
Well, the only goal is survival. That's the thing. No, seriously. In fact, that's the advice I would give if the first time you teach a course. The first time I ever teach a new prep is survival. The second time you teach a course, correct fatal flaws. I have never, ever in my career felt comfortable teaching a course ever until the third time is when I started to feel comfortable. So if you're tapping someone super late, especially because of a death, are you kidding me? The tragedy of that, the sadness around that faculty member is faced with an impossible task. And so just to give the students a halfway decent learning experience would be remarkable. So you don't have high expectations. You just have moderate expectations at best, I would say.
I was fortunate. Mine wasn't like, it didn't happen like weeks before the semester started. No, so it's a class that I only offer once a year in the spring. So I had a little bit of time to prep, but it was still an unexpected prep. So it was not like somebody being, like when I first started teaching eons ago, I think I've shared this with y'all before, but I had 7 preps in my first 2 years. Completely different situation.
Yeah,
So
that's about who you pissed off.
yeah.